Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Cougars show. I'm Chris.
I'm Kieran.
And today we are previewing the second half of Gameweek 26. In tonight's show we'll be discussing each of the upcoming Gameweek fixtures, predicting the potential key players, differentials, clean sheets, and we'll also be rejoicing that Man City and West Ham has been rescheduled. We'll also talk Captaincy, reveal our teams, planned transfers, and the Cougar Cup picks. Kieran, let's just talk very briefly about how we're doing so far. You've doubled my score, haven't you?
About the week that's going on forever, it seems like. So I had Sadibi, who managed to get 2 points, who was benched, and I was thinking I've only kept him for this game, and he was benched, and then obviously came on, was eligible for the clean sheet, and Pickford obviously doing his usual piece of crap defending or crap saving and ruining my clean sheets when I just thought, Benteke, of all people, to score as well, and it just looked like a nailed-on clean sheet because they did nothing else the whole game.
I bet you were thankfully came on, though.
Yeah, it was, but I was looking at no players in that Sunday at all because I wasn't expecting Lundstrom to play and everything. So, and then obviously the City game got called off, and then I was expecting it to not be rescheduled for this week. So I would have had Rico and Lundstrom off the bench, which would have been 10 from 3 players, which still is not particularly good. So I'm happy for the City the players to actually play, and hopefully they actually do play. So that's just. So effectively 2 from 1 so far, which is fine, I suppose. I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, we won't spend too long dwelling on mine because we'll talk about it more next week. But I mean, my season of bad luck and transfers continues. So Lundstrom I took out after the fact that he was definitely dropped and out of the squad, and I had a bit of money, so I thought I'm going to treat myself to the best performing Sheffield United defender. And the stats said Stevens was far ahead of any of the others for shots in the box, chances created, big touches in the box. Basically, every stat he was glowing. So I was like, okay, Stevens, yeah, all right, 5.1 million, I'll spend that. Obviously, Stevens got the lowest score of every Sheffield United defender last week, and Lundstrom came on and scored. So, yay!
Well, he could and probably should have had an assist. It was touched by Egan just before from his cross. So for Sharp's goal, so you're a bit unlucky there, but. I think it was a good move on paper. I think Lundstrom was just lucky to get a goal. That's not gonna happen every week, and I don't think he gets his place back still. So, I think the rest of us are going to be selling soon enough anyway. So
he was celebrating like it meant a lot, which was quite nice to see though, because it's never nice to be dropped when you're such a fan favourite. All right, well let's move on to Cougar Cup picks, because we sort of going to split these in half because I panicked at the end of last week's show and picked Lascelles for the second half. So we're going to do a bit of a reset. And but Kieran, you led the way, didn't you?
Yeah, well, you sort of sprang it on me to do half of the game week. So, and I ended up picking Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who obviously did well, and he got the goal and assist, I think it was. So 11 points in that one. So very happy with that. And overall, I'm now on. For February, I'm on 11. You picked Dean Henderson. Dean, isn't it? Yeah, Dean Henderson from Sheffield United, obviously doubling down on Sheffield United defence. He got the 2 points, lost the clean sheet, which I was happy to see because I obviously had Lundstrom on the bench, and I was expecting a worrying rank drop if Sheffield United got that clean sheet. Yeah. So 2 points for you there, and so February wise I'm on 11 and you're on 2, and then total wise I'm on 80 and you're on 84. So that 11 has been a big chunk back for me. So yeah. Within touching distance of you again, so that's good.
That's made it a bit more spicy as we get towards sort of the last run of the season. All right, on to the fixtures themselves then. So Wolves against Leicester is the sort of the first game. I think it's on this Friday night, isn't it? I believe it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
And Wolves, I think it's their first of 3 home games in the next 4 for them. So some good fixtures. I mean, you bought Jimenez in ahead of this one. Do you see him sort of breaking down that Leicester back line?
Well, I mean, the Leicester back line hasn't been as good, so yeah, I'm hoping for at least a return from him. An assist would be nice. He's obviously involved with everything they do, so just any sort of return I'd be happy with, because obviously I've sold Tammy, who I sort of expect to not do much against United, so just hoping for anything. I mean, he's had 13, 8 and 2 in his last 3 weeks, and he's faced some tough teams then, so that's pretty good. He's an XG of 3.31, which is pretty big. I think it was 4th overall for forwards. XA of 0.93, so he can get the goals and assists as we've seen before. 13 shots 6 big chances, which is big as well. 3 key passes and 1 big chance created. So, I'm confident in him going forward, and especially that Norwich at home game after this one, and then you've got Brighton at home after Spurs the week after. So those are good fixtures, and obviously Spurs can't defend. So, and then after Brighton and West Ham, they still got a good run of like 3 or 4 decent fixtures again. So, happy to own, and I'm thinking of bringing in someone else called Mr. Willy Bolly. He's well, I've got Sidivi with that terrible run of fixtures. So I'm looking at Bolly, who actually at 4.7 million at 2.1% could be a big differential. Obviously, he's got a bit of goal threat, should be nailed on, and this is their first clean sheet for Wolves last week since week 8, which was the last time he actually played. So, he seems to be the glue in that defence, and I'm looking to be the adhesive in my team, I suppose. I'm looking forward to owning him. I think. Differential 2.1% down from CDV. I think CDV had something like 3% or something. So just keeping those sort of low-owned extra differentials in my team.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. I think you're right to sort of move on CDV at this sort of time of like you say, his fixtures turn as Wolves' turn, and it'd be nice to get on them. And he's like you say, he's always such a joy to watch from set pieces, isn't he? And he's cropped up with some important sort of goals and assists. Especially earlier this season, he was on a really good run, and even when they necessarily weren't keeping clean sheets, he was actually chipping in and getting really high on baseline bonus, if I recall. Because I remember looking at those numbers and thinking he could be a really good option. But like you say, because of that injury, his ownership really dropped off.
I mean, there's times where we've looked at the Wolves' defence and been like, maybe we should get on them with their good run of fixtures, but they've never really been able to keep the clean sheets. But that's because Bolly has obviously been missing, and now as soon as he's come back in, he's kept that clean sheet. So. And against United of all teams, obviously aren't prolific or anything right now, but they're still a side that can score. I'm happy enough to be bringing him in going forward. Even though Sidibe looks like they have that run of fixtures that looks bad on paper, which maybe it's not as bad as it actually is, and they sometimes keep clean sheets in those sort of games. So I'm slightly hesitant to get rid of it. I'm only 0.1 off going Lundstrom to Bolly. I would definitely do that if I had that 0.1. And keep CDB possibly, but it doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen.
No, interesting. On the Leicester side of things, I think we've all sort of been expecting quite a lot from Vardy recently, and he sort of seems to have dovetailed off. But I had a little look at his underlying numbers. I was looking at replacements for him and if it's time to move him on, but I really don't think it is, because I think they're after Man City, they've got 4 games against teams who are still in the bottom 6. And actually, in Vardy's last 4 games, his number's been really good. So he's had 4 big chances, an XG of 2.1. Obviously, scored no goals in that time and just picked up 1 assist. He's created 3 big chances, and he's actually had an expected points of 21, where he's only actually scored 8. So I think he's just been quite unlucky, really, which is rare for Vardy, because he is notoriously quite clinical and takes the few or the big chances he gets. So I'd expect after this game, then you could expect more returns from him. I don't know. What do you think? Time to get rid of him, or are you going to be holding him for the foreseeable?
Yeah, I think I'll keep him for that run. I think the time to sell him has gone. I think we should have got rid of him around week 19. I think for when Liverpool rocked up. And when he's only got 1 assist in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. So we should have sold him back then, hindsight. But now I don't think is the time to get ready, because you can see him coming back into form. He's still top goal scorer, so he's going to want that golden boot, isn't he? And there's only 12 weeks left. I don't know how much there is, but So I'm happy to him, basically.
It's funny though. I don't see him scoring in this away game against Wolves, but that Man City game, it seems like the sort of game he'd be really relishing. And then after that, with Norwich and Aston Villa, 2 notoriously sort of poor defences, after that I could see Vardy sort of returning in the next 3 after this Wolves game. I think his drop off in form has really tied him with Maddison as well. So like you're saying about how many games Vardy's blanked him, Maddison has only had 1 return in the last 9. I've had him, I think, the last 5 now. Since I basically had him since that Newcastle game he scored in. But his ownership's dropped down, but he's still owned by more than 21% of players, 7.5 million now. I was having a look at alternatives in sort of that price bracket, and one that stood out considering the fixtures is actually his teammate Harvey Barnes. So in Barnes' last 4 games, he's averaged 6.2 points per game, and he's absolutely just crushed Maddison in that time. So he's quadrupled his shots in the box, so that he's had 8, Maddison's 2. He's had triple the big chances, 3-1. And yeah, his points, 27 points total to 7 points for Maddie. It's just a massive, massive difference. And he's actually being played a lot more regularly by Rodgers now. So he's played 90 in 2 of the last 4. So I do...
Still doesn't feel safe owning him, I don't think.
No, but the points are there. And he's creeping up on him for overall points. I know his price is maybe a reason why you wouldn't want to put him in, because you don't feel like you've got that backing at that price point, if you see what I mean. He's not like a talisman of the side.
He feels like a trap to me, like just one of those trap players who's gonna perform well out of your team, and then as soon as you bring him in, he starts getting nothing and blanks all over the place. So I don't know. I think Maddison has still looked quite good personally. I think he still passes the eye test, and in like with that Carabao Cup semi-final, that he had 10 shots, didn't he? So and I think he looked all right in the last game as well. So I don't know. Are you thinking of definitely selling them? Or?
He's getting to the point where I might have to. I mean, I benched him for Gameweek 26. I keep looking at my team and thinking I'm looking at 27, but yeah, I benched him for 26 away against Wolves, and I don't think now that the City game has been put back on, I doubt, unless someone else picks up an injury or doesn't make it, that he's going to come back in. But for the games after that, like I say, I fancy that Man City game at home for Leicester. And then after that, it's really difficult to sell with Norwich, Villa, Watford, and Brighton. But you'd think I need some definite points out of that. And because he hasn't been supplying the points in the previous games, my confidence is waning a little bit.
I think you're probably going to have other issues with someone like Grealish who's going to blank, and with those terrible fixtures, you've probably got other fires to change, I suppose, or put out.
Well, I mean, Harvey Barnes is 6 million, so I mean, if I'm feeling ballsy, I could get the triple up on Leicester. Harvey Barnes, mad. I can hear you early already.
Yeah, not sure about that.
Well, let's move that as a little section to move on then. Let's talk about Saints against Burnley, because I believe that's happening on the Saturday. Burnley come on...
We hope. With Storm and David coming up.
Exactly, yeah. Burnley obviously travelled to Saints, having 3 clean sheets in their last 6 away games. I feel like maybe they could be another shutout here. What do you think? I mean, Spurs is attacking...
What, for Burnley?
Yeah. No?
Well, I hope not. I got Daniel Ings as vice captain, haven't I? So, yeah, I don't know. Give me some stats on Pope and their clean sheet potential.
Well, all right. He's the 6th highest scoring player in the last 4 game weeks, but surprisingly not the sort of highest scoring keeper, because Henderson has surpassed him just because he's been playing well, apart from that game against Bournemouth at the weekend. Pope, though, is massively, and Burnley as a whole, massively overperforming on their XGC. So they, in the last 4 games, they are meant to have conceded 5.7 goals, the boffins are opt to say, but they've only actually conceded 1. So thanks mainly to Pope's heroics, he's racked up quite a number of save points in that time. So I don't know, they've been defying the odds a little bit, but I wonder if they can swing back into things this weekend with another sort of shutout here.
Well, I'm obviously hoping not. As I said, I don't expect them to get a clean sheet here. I think Saints have looked good recently. They looked good against Spurs in the FA Cup replay. Daniel Ings, as I said, is my vice captain. He looked great in that replay. Scored that nice goal. Looked like a terror. So yeah, I just think he looks like he's not had the returns recently in FPL because he's been benched and he's had tough defenses. Yeah. But I think he looks like the really sharp and the complete player, and just a menace for like Chris Wood and stuff, people like that who's just a menace for central defenders to have to deal with. So yeah, Ings since week 20 has had 9, 9, 5, 2, 1 and 2. So the last 3, like I said, is a tough defenses, and he was benched in one of them. But so that's consistent returning, and I expect he's gonna come back to form now. I think he's possibly captain potential over the next few weeks as well. That their run of fixtures is arguably the best in the game. I probably would say it is the best. Burnley at home, Villa at home next as well, West Ham away, Newcastle at home, Norwich away. So that run of 5 is crazy good. And I don't know, should we be looking at a triple up? That sounds strange to triple up on Saints, but It could be worth it.
One be?
So I've got down here is Redmond, 6.2 million, 1.1% owned. He's looked good in the last few games, but like his returns haven't been amazing. But he seems like a Barnes as well, a bit of a trap. But yeah, XA of 1.2, 2 big chances created, 6 shots, 10 key passes last 4 weeks. So his stats for assists are good. He doesn't look like he's going to get that many goals, but a Grealish to Redmond for the next few. Maybe.
It's a difficult double up because I have so many people own Ings now.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like Ings is probably going to need someone to assist him.
That's
so why not with those fixtures? It feels like it could just be worth it. Like what are you going to lose out on with Grealish? Although he is a talisman, I suppose, but. Yeah.
Well, I thought Redmond looked really good in that away game against Palace, and I think it was a couple of weeks ago I highlighted him. But just because of these fixtures, it is difficult to double down on a Southampton attacking line. But like the fixtures are good. I mean, those three home fixtures in the next 5, and then West Ham and Norwich away. I mean, they're really plum looking fixtures for them.
Are you going to play Stevens in most of these games?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking I might even downgrade someone like Maddison and get the 4-man defence going because of Robertson and Trent, and obviously with Sheffield United such good fixtures as well, you almost got like Stephen. Yeah, you got a good back line of teams there with good fixtures for the next like 3 to 5 game weeks.
I mean, Saints XGC has been 7.1 with 8 conceded, so it's not good. It's quite low to be honest, but
they did play Liverpool in there.
Yeah, well, exactly. But so good fixtures coming. I mean, I wish I had Stevens over McCarthy because he just doesn't seem to get the consistent sort of save returns either.
Sure.
And I think Gunn made quite a few mistakes in the FA Cup replay with Spurs as well, so I think he's at least nailed. That's the only good thing. But I just hope this game plays with Storm, Derek coming, and I just if that game gets called off and possibly the Liverpool one as well, then I will have 5 players not playing, which would be horrific, and I'd have no goalkeeper and no captain. So
it would suck if Storm Daniel like stops Danny Ings from performing, wouldn't it? It'd just be so typical.
Yeah.
All right. In terms of differentials, we got Ben Mee. I want to highlight from Burnley. I know he's not fashionable, and everyone listening is probably thinking, "Oh my god!" But Kieran, but Kieran, wait, because if you're looking for an alternative to Pope, I mean, maybe you wouldn't be because Pope is still only 4.7 and Ben Mee's 5, and Burnley's fixtures aren't the best. After this Saints away game, they got Bournemouth and Newcastle next 2 after that, and then a home game against Tottenham. So they're not bad. They're middling. But yeah, Ben Mee in the last 4, he's had 2 big chances, 5 shots in the box, which amazingly is only 2 less shots in the box than Burnley striker Chris Wood. He's a mega differential, own 1% of people. He's had 2 attacking returns in the last 3 games. He's scored really well. So it looks like he's getting more influence from set pieces, and
it's under the radar.
Yeah, he could be one to monitor. His numbers have sort of like really jumped out at me as they're finding him more regularly recently. So yeah, he could be one to keep an eye on. Could be like Azpilicueta the other week. It's just like goes through maybe it's a tactical change, and in the system like at Chelsea, you think maybe Dyche has said, we want to start targeting me more from corners and set plays, and all of a sudden he's making the most of those chances. So
be interesting to see the tactics on that, because usually it seems to be Tarkowski that gets on the end of it. If they've actually actively tried to be like, let's target me instead, because everyone knows we're going for Tarkowski for the corners, so let's try and get it on me's head instead. So interesting. I thought it would be nice if it's true.
Yeah, it would be. And I mean, it's interesting to me how he's almost like nearly surpassed like Wood's shots in the box in the last 4 games. Wood seems to have dropped off a little bit, so he's had 23 points in the last 4, 7 shots in the box, 2 big chances, 1.4 xG. With Barnes injured now, you think he's probably gonna have no worries about starting it. I mean, he wasn't anyway, but he's being outperformed by players like Wilson, who's had such like a sluggish sort of season even. So I'm not sure if I can put any trust in Wood, but Ben Mee's could be a nice differential.
Yep, fair enough.
All right, Norwich against Liverpool is happening, and we're all excited. But the Storm thing, you are a bit worried, aren't you?
You've got to be, haven't you? Like there's yellow amber warnings across that area for Saturday, and obviously we've seen the City game got called off. The winds are supposed to be a bit less, so it should be okay. Apparently about 50 miles per hour, which is about the same as it was for the Sheffield game that actually did go ahead. So I'm hopeful. I don't think they're going to be wanting more postponements, so I guess we'll see. I think they'd probably have to announce it pretty soon if they are going to postpone it, but fingers crossed not. So Norwich wise,
can I just say, you were going to say about a quick postponement or an early postponement, but they didn't postpone the Man City game, did they, with much warning?
No,
it was only a few hours. It was like midday and for the 4 o'clock kickoff. So
I think I saw someone on Twitter is like halfway up the wherever it is, the motorway, and they had to turn around when they saw it. Which sucks. So anyway, Norwich Liverpool, Norwich side. So Pookie,
I take it that was a Man City fan. Anyway, okay.
Okay. So Pookie, 6.5 million now, 13.4%. So he's finally gone down to that 15% ownership, so we can actually pick him for Cubic Cup picks at some point. He's scored in the reverse fixture, obviously, in the first day of the season. Can he do it again at home? Possibly. And he's had 2 returns his last 4 games, and 1 return in each, with bonus in each time, so a 9 and an 8 pointer. So he's kind of like Danny Ings, where he, if he gets 1 return, he seems to be clinical, gets the bonus as well. Unlike someone like Abraham, who, if he gets a return, never gets any bonus. Seems like. So. I think if he possibly continues to show a bit of form, a return every other game seems quite good. And from 30 to 37, they've got a good run of fixtures. So possibly worth getting onto at some point again. That 13.4% is still quite high for someone who's not really been in form for a long time. But
it's just dead teams, isn't it now?
It probably is.
Ghost ships sailing into the oblivion at the end of the season.
Exactly. But I think if you get on him and he shows form, then he will be a differential for the end of the season. I'll be eyes on him in this game.
Yeah, that is interesting that he's dropped so much. I have a feeling like someone like Pookie now, he isn't ever going to be getting like under 10% against differential, just because there'll be enough dead teams to sort of keep that number afloat, if that makes sense.
True.
Interesting. On the Liverpool side of things, they've now won their last 16. They won this game on the opening day of the season 4-1, and they've scored at least 2 goals in 30 of their last 34 matches. So we are all hoping
insane numbers.
Yeah, we're all hoping and praying this game goes ahead, because we probably all tripled or doubled at least on their assets. They've kept a clean sheet in 9 of their last 10. The only game, of course, they conceded a goal in was that first of the double game week 1. If they kept it in that, imagine 10 for 10 in clean sheets. Would have been pretty epic. And Norwich conceded 2 in the last 6. Conceded 2 in 4 of the last 6 home games. So their backline is pretty easily breached even at home. Because we know so much about Liverpool's sort of like key attacking players, I thought we'd just like highlight how well some of the sort of side players are doing. Like Henderson, for one, so he's had a goal and assist in 2 of his last 3 games, 7 key passes, 1 big chance created in the last 3. And the most surprising stat of all for me was that he's had 16 penalty area touches, which is actually the same as Salah. So again, I wonder if it's like a positional change. Klopp's sort of encouraged him more to get forward and get break into the box more, and he's obviously making goals and getting assists as well. Obviously, that header at Wolves, I think, was the first of his sort of goal involvements in the last recent game. So, yeah, I think he's one to monitor at the moment. I mean, I do think that most people's like assets are going to be placed probably in the popular ones in Salah, Firmino, Mane. Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk. There is basically like 6 or 7 players ahead of him. But I thought it was just worth mentioning because he's a fairly low ownership player in that Liverpool team, just how well he's been doing.
I mean, there's a lack of sort of other high sort of like Sterling-esque premium players. If you were going to get in someone like Henderson to cover that third spot as a differential, there's not many other players who you'd want to sort of have with that sort of budget instead of the Manes and Salahs. So I don't know. It seems a bit awkward, but yeah, he has been performing well.
Just Firmino as well has been in good form. So I was having a look at his numbers. He's owned by nearly 20% of players, which actually surprised me a little bit. I don't know about if that number surprises you, but I thought he'd be sort of like maybe on a level with Pookie, around 13 to sort of 15%.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in great form too. So he's had 5 big chances in the last 4, which matches Salah. He's had 12 shots in the box in that time, 3 less than Salah, but that's the second most of all strikers. So yeah, he's really been in good form. And these next 5 fixtures are just, continue to be fantastic for Liverpool. And I mean, you just could see them winning these 5 at a canter ready. West Ham, Watford, Bournemouth, Everton, and Crystal Palace are the ones after Norwich. So yeah, I think there's points aplenty for all the Liverpool players.
Yeah, and I think Salah had something like 20 shots in the box over the last 4 weeks, which is the most of any player in the league. So
Wow.
yeah, he looks like he's on form at the moment, obviously, and that's why we've picked him as captain ahead of Man City at home to West Ham.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm back in Salah, and obviously I think we've seen Mane back in training now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think possibly the last video, I'm tempted to bring him back in because he's under 20% owned. So yeah, Robertson, I would need to probably roll a transfer or take a hit to do it, but yeah, Mane at under 20%, if he's fit and firing again, is big time. Yeah, would like to have a piece of that, I think.
Yeah, I think now that I've sort of like settled on the double defence, it's quite difficult to sort of wangle him back in quite like I don't know, without taking a hit over a couple of game weeks, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, I've sort of like made my bed a little bit. I don't know how you feel about that, because you probably had to downgrade one of your defenders, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it would be like Sidibe and Robertson out, and then possibly a Mahrez as well to sort of get him in. So it would be like a -4 if I had 2 free transfers. But yeah, Robertson just hasn't really seemed to have done it much recently. So he's getting clean sheets and everything, but his attacking potential has been down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think his last assist was in week 21. So I guess it's not bad, but yeah, I just want to see Robertson keep going, get a few assists, so I can not have to worry about Mane. But yeah, the dangling stick is there. And I do like Mane. I wish I'd just gone for Mane in the first place. I think.
Do you?
Or not? Sorry, I wish I'd gone for Salah in the first place for the double.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know, but I would have triple captain Salah, because I was talking about double attack for the whole time basically, and I never went for it. And I wish I had just done it, and I would have just had Salah that whole time. Mane obviously would have been out, but I would have probably kept him at this point. So yeah, I think he probably plays. What do you think on him playing?
I think he'll probably come off the bench. I think he'll come off the bench and get some minutes. I think but just because it's Norwich away, I think Origi can probably continue.
Champions League.
Yeah, and Champions League. Yeah. I just think it's so irritating again that the time I own Salah has been like maybe the 2 or 3 games in the last 10 game weeks he's had like bad ones, and it's just like scarred me. So if the game gets cancelled this weekend, then don't be surprised. I was going to say on Robertson, I was doing the notes last night to have a little look at his numbers, and I was sure Klopp had said something about how reliable a left back was and how Robertson was like never going to get dropped. And then the more I thought about it, I realised I dreamt it, Kieran. I was thinking about Andy Robertson in my sleep. I was thinking, I remember just Klopp giving a press conference and saying Robertson was never going to get dropped, but yeah, it was a dream. So he might do. Anyway, I thought it was
that little Scottish funny lad.
Yeah, I know, cute. All right, well let's move on, because enough about dreams. Let's talk about Grealish and Villa and Spurs, because I look at Villa's like upcoming fixtures and I think, and they've got a blank, and I think, is now the time to sell Grealish? I don't know what you think about that.
I can't really answer that. I don't think. I mean, his stats are great still. He's had 10 shots, 11 key passes, an XA of 1.03, one big chance created, an XG of 0.5. So, yeah, with those 10 shots, obviously a bit outside of the box sort of thing. But, yeah, his stats are still decent. And if anyone is going to do anything in that team, it will be him. And I think, they scored like 2 goals the other week and he didn't get anything. But, yeah, he was unlucky. He was still majorly involved in that game, and I think the last 3 weeks or something he's been unlucky not to get massive hauls. So yeah, talisman theory wise, I think it'd be wise to kind of possibly keep him. You know, we've seen before struggling sort of relegation teams have provided good assets just because they need to fight for every point and they need to try and stay up. So yeah, I'm tempted to keep him. If I can bench him for that blank in 28, then I will. It's just because I've still got double City, I've got other players that are going to blank as well, and I need to obviously upgrade my bench too. So Grealish is on the hot seat as well as Mahrez sort of thing. So I've not really decided, but I think you probably can't go wrong keeping or selling at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm really reluctant to sell because he's one of the few players this season that I got in at the right time, and he's produced really well, and he's been really good, consistent scorer. But just those fixtures and the blank.
I can see a return against Spurs.
Yeah, can you? I don't know. I look at I can see him returning that Southampton away game more than that, but the other three in the next 5. After this Tottenham game, which are the blank Leicester and Chelsea, I'd just be, not so keen on it. But I get your point. He is the talisman in that team, and if Villa are going to score, recently it has been him or he has been involved in it. So I think it makes sense to keep him from that point of view. But then when you see players around him who've got similar stats and better fixtures, it's hard not to look elsewhere.
Yeah, I would lose 0.4 on him if I sold him now. So that's quite a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the players I would probably mention as replacements, Traore in that similar price bracket, and Harvey Barnes, like I mentioned earlier, both in great form and scoring well with good fixtures.
Or Nathan
Redmond, Kieran, exactly. So there's options there, but I wouldn't feel, probably like you then, as confident owning any of those because they are none of them like the main guys in their own teams.
I guess Traore is.
Not Jimenez.
Yeah, I think they're both talismans. I think whenever Traore does anything, he is involved at anything that they do as well as Jimenez, I think. So both of them go tandem.
Is this game in threat of being cancelled because of Storm Dominic, or is this one definitely going ahead?
I think this is Sunday.
Okay.
Am I wrong in saying that?
I mean, I think it is going over both of the days of the weekend, but I don't know how bad it is compared to last.
I think it's supposed to be less on the Sunday.
Okay.
So I think it should be fine. So someone who I had as my backup Cub pick last week was Samatta, who obviously got his first goal last week with the 8 points, 2 bonus. Yeah, a bit like Pukki and Ings again. With if he gets a goal, he'll probably get a bonus. So he had 3 shots, which isn't exactly impressive, but 1 big chance, 2 key passes, obviously clinical, XG of 0.53 and XA of 0.07. So XA is not looking great, but fixtures obviously quite bad.
He's new.
Yeah, and he did look quite isolated, kind of like Wesley did. So, but I think he'll sort of tick along fairly okay, to be honest. So
he's got a tough job, hasn't he? Really, because he's been brought in to try and give him the goal to keep him up. And if he's new to the league, it is going to be tough. But it's good that he's obviously starting and playing the full 90 minutes. So it's
first game, first goal. Well done to the lad.
Yeah. All right. On the Spurs side of things, I haven't really got too much to mention from an attacking point of view because their XG actually of 4.8 is in the last 4. 4.08 in the last 4 is the 7th worst in the league. So they haven't actually been doing particularly well in front of goal. And I'd look at who's been getting forward and getting in the box. So most touches in the box in the last 4. Lo Celso actually leads the way with 16, but oddly has only had 1 shot off the back of those 16 touches. And then next, for most touches in the box in the last 4, is Son tied with a certain Christian Eriksen, obviously now plays for Inter Milan. That stat made me laugh a lot. So their attacking play in the last 4 is really not showing any sort of cause to bring any of their players in potentially. But Son has been the main man when it comes to their attacking play. So of his 12 touches in the box, 11 of those touches have resulted in shots. He's had 3 big chances, and that's more than double the amount of shots than any other Spurs attacker. So, his numbers are really good. So you are relying on him for points. He obviously got that goal against Man City. Took a slight deflection, but I don't know. Son is one I've looked at to bring in for Maddison. I don't know how you feel about their fixtures, though. After this, I think they'll do well in this Villa game. But after that, Chelsea, Wolves, Burnley, and then Man United, I don't think they're any games they're going to freely score in.
I think those 4 are tough, but I think if you got him in, I think you could just keep him in for the rest of the season. They're okay. Like they do still have Arsenal to play, they do still have Leicester to play after those 4 as you just said, but the rest are pretty green and nice and juicy, and Jose doesn't really seem to rotate. So. I just think his price is 10 million. I think that's quite a lot for him still. Yeah. Especially when you're looking at someone like KDB who provides way more than he does. So, would you have the funds to be able to do that with Maddison? Just really? Okay. Yeah, although it was.
It's a difficult one. And like I say, because that price is so expensive, it's funny how, I mean, he didn't obviously drop because he was red flagged because of his card and the games he missed, and now he sort of shot back up. I think he went down to 9-8 quite quickly. So obviously people are getting on him, but I'm just, after this Villa game, I think he'll score well this weekend, like points wise. I could see him getting double digit, but after that, I'm not so sure for like four weeks or so.
Yeah, Villa's XGC is 8.68, and they've conceded 10 of the last 4 weeks. So, they're definitely worth targeting for offensive assets. So if you own Son right now, you should be looking for some good points this week.
Yeah, it's Rayner, isn't it, in goal? Yeah, he in the highlights he worried me again. Like, I know he's been out of the league for a while, and he's still obviously been playing football, but he just looked a bit slapdash. And
everyone on Twitter seems to be loving him, and all the Villa fans seem to just be like, "Oh my god, Rayner's amazing!" But I thought he was at fault for one of the goals like a couple of weeks ago, and like you said, he's looked a bit awkward and not that great. So I thought that Nyland guy was better than Rayner, especially in that Carabao semi. Like, Nyland was quality in that game.
I wonder if they just latched onto the fact he's like a name. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. But the highlights I've seen of Villa recently have involved Rayner looking a bit shaky. So. One to watch. All right, Arsenal against Newcastle. I obviously picked Lascelles under pressure last week as my Cougar Cup differential. I'm going to back out of that decision later, but they're I don't know. Newcastle defence only managed 2 clean sheets on the road this season, so it's probably a good reason for me not to pick them. Interesting, the players with the most transferred in this week are 2 defenders though, Fernandes and Lascelles. They have had 2 clean sheets in their last 3 games, but can you see them keeping Arsenal out here?
Probably not, but I don't know. Shall I talk about Arsenal quickly? Their XG as a team is 4.20 with only 4 scored, and that's 18th overall. Wow. Like, they're behind Villa, they're behind Burnley, Norwich, Bournemouth, Brighton, Sheffield United. That's just a few of them, like teams that you don't expect to be scoring loads of goals. Arsenal, who are obviously regularly or supposed to be a traditional top 6 side, of just 18th overall for expected goals. It's it's really bad. And obviously Aubameyang's come back and he didn't look great in that game either. He did have 3 big chances though, and he fluffed one when he was right through. I don't know if you remember seeing that. Was he sort of just kicked it the wrong direction somehow, but he looked like he didn't do much other than those big chances, and usually he's quite clinical. So I don't know if he's just off form. It's hard to judge from one game, but I think if you own him, then you should be looking for some goals this week.
Definitely.
But he is still on that flank. He makes the good runs. That's what's good about him. Like, he does make the good runs, but I don't know, being on that flank just seems to not do it for me. Or I don't think he gets enough returns, and he's nearly 11 million, and it's just not clinical enough, to be honest. And with that team XG, it's just looking like none of them are really creating anything from either. So it just feels like 10.8 million wasted right now. He'll get the odd goal, but I don't think it's enough for that price. They blank in 28 as well, I think. They do. Sorry, just checking. And then possibly 31 as well. So, but those fixtures are really, really good right now. So, you're probably going to keep him if you own him. But I would be hesitant to say buy him. Yeah,
I'm really worried about that team XG overall. Like you say, it's very strange. I mean, I know Arteta's come in and he's made it a lot tighter. They've drawn a heck of a lot of games, and he's made them a bit of an improved unit, let's say. But that's really sort of hampered how they go forward, and the XG numbers really reflect that. So they
just don't look like scoring.
No, it's strange, isn't it?
I can see Newcastle doing, like, maybe not keep them out, but I think they'll keep it tight. It's probably gonna be like a 1 goal win to Arsenal, I would say, like a 1-0 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I can't...
And it'll probably be Abba that gets it, to be fair.
I mean, I can't see Newcastle coming here and doing well. So they've failed to score in the last 3 games at the Emirates, and they've not kept a clean sheet against Arsenal in the last 6 meetings. So I know that's like historical data, but like I said at the top of the Newcastle bit, they've only managed 2 clean sheets on the road this season. And funnily enough, they're not actually very good going at the other end, away from home in the last 4. So they've had an XG of 1.8, which is the worst in the league. So it could be quite a dull and drab game, really.
Was it Spurs? They but
They beat. Yeah, they won.
Yeah, they went away and won.
Yeah.
Like I can possibly see that happening again. Like a clean sheet against Spurs. Like
Little Joe Linton goal.
Maybe.
That's what it
Like
was.
yeah. But Steve Bruce knows how to get them to defend. Like in the big games at least.
Yeah.
Like so. Yeah, maybe.
On the Newcastle side of things, I mean, I did mention Lascelles last week and maybe even the week before as a player to look out for as a potential Kelly replacement. So after this Arsenal game, Newcastle have got Crystal Palace away, Burnley at home, Southampton away, Sheffield United and Villa back-to-back at home. So I do think getting on their defence is good. Yeah, that is nice. I mean, there is a case. I mean, it's a ridiculous case, Kieran. But there is a case to play like a five-man defence because there are such good fixture runs for the likes of Newcastle, Sheffield United, Southampton and Liverpool, but you'd have to be mental to do it because
I think I kind of vaguely remember getting on to someone like Lascelles or a Newcastle defence last year around the blanks and for a good run of fixtures, and they kept like no clean sheets even though they had really good fixtures. So
maybe you should have benched them. Defenders always get a clean sheet when you put them on the bench. It's like the rule. It's the golden rule.
It's the Rico, the
Rico
4.5 area. Yeah.
Maybe that's the podcast title right there for this week, the Rico effect. Right. If you are going to get on a Newcastle defender, I should say that after this, Fernandes and Lascelles, who've both been seeing a lot of transfer activity, and they're probably the ones to go for. So Fernandes 4.5, Lascelles 4.2, both less than 2% owned, so they're mega differentials. When I look at a sort of defensive unit that I don't know. I'm looking for a couple of things. Obviously, they're a good defensive side, but then beyond that, are they good for baseline bonus? And Fernandes surprisingly beats Lascelles for baseline bonus over the last 3. So if they're keeping a clean sheet, he's more than likely to pick up some extra points for bonus, which is always nice. He's actually had more shots in the box, so 3-1 than Lascelles over the last 3 game weeks. So yeah, he's getting on the end of things. So worth thinking about if you want to invest in some Newcastle defenders.
Maybe I should look at him instead of Bolly. Maybe
you should. Yeah, well, the fixtures are good.
Yeah. Okay. So one last guy to mention on the Arsenal side is Bellerin at 5.4 million, 0.8% owned. So yeah, big differential. But back-to-back clean sheets for Arsenal now, and he's had 2 bonus in both those games for 2 8-pointers, 16 points in 2 games. And you'd expect a clean sheet here for Arsenal again, probably. So yeah, could do nicely here.
Yeah.
3 clean sheets in a row would be unheard of for Arsenal, but yeah, the massive differential if you have him. But if you can pick him up possibly after 28 with their blank, their run from 29 to 33 is still really good. So yeah, big differential, and these sort of differentials are what get us up the ranks, I suppose. He's basically had no offensive stats either at the moment, so his XG and XA aren't even worth mentioning, but you know, he'll probably become more confident of once he's back that this is his first 2 90 minutes in a row for a long time. So yeah, I expect he'll sort of up that side of his game soon.
Yeah, cool. No, I like it. All right, should we talk about the second last fixture of the game week? So obviously in last week's show we previewed Man City West Ham, so we're not going to do it obviously again tonight. So if you want to see our preview for that one, go back and watch last week's show. But to wrap up sort of the fixtures which were planned for this one, and Chelsea Man United is the last one. Man United coming into the back of this one having failed to score in the last 3 games. And Stamford Bridge is always a tricky place to go for a United side. I mean, I could see another blank on the cards here in front of goal. Don't know about you.
Possibly. I mean, we'll see if Vigala comes in, maybe. I don't know. They've had plenty of time to train for this one. They've had their winter break and they're training in Marbella or wherever it is now. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be a 4-0 to United again like the reverse fixture, but not sure. Chelsea can't really keep clean sheets, so I can see a goal possibly.
Maybe it will come from Igala. You know, 188 brave managers have already brought him in. I actually don't think people are sort of laughing about him as a fantasy option, but he had a really good sort of season in 15-16. I know it was a long time ago, but 16 goals and 6 assists over that campaign. Bear in mind that was in a Watford team, obviously played to his strengths. He's going to get you'd think a lot more chances made for him in this Man United team, so he might not be as a poopy pick as people think.
I've seen him on Twitter and Instagram looking like he's working hard in the gym. So this is his club. He's always supported them. So I think he wants to make an impression. And to be honest, I can see him doing all right. Like you said, like he won't be the worst pick. And it's 6.5 million for a possibly nailed on striker if Martial goes wide again, which I think we think is going to happen. Then it could be a bargain, honestly. So
definitely,
but maybe not in this game, and their fixtures are still sort of tough.
They're rough.
Yeah,
really rough.
Yeah.
On the Chelsea side of things, is there anyone you've had your eye on? Because you recently got rid of Abraham, didn't you, for Jimenez?
Yeah, so I sold him basically because his last returns have been 6-2, 5-2 last 4 weeks. So he's inconsistent at best, but he has sort of been returning, oddly. But the problem is he still rarely completes 90 minutes, rarely gets bonus after a single return. So with players like Ings and Pookie and people like that who are getting the bonus off the single return. That seems like better value to me. At 7.7 million, he lost loads of his value that I had built up in with him, and I can easily get him back. Like after this Man United and Tottenham the next 2 weeks, they've got a good run again, so I can easily bring him back in if he's looking good. But he gets so many big chances, which it's scary to not own him because he does have those massive chances, but he rarely scores them. That's the problem. So, but he's had 5 big chances over the last 4 weeks, which people like Jimmy who's had 6 and had 2-3 goals or something, and Tammy's only had 1 goal, 1 assist. So for the time being he's gone, but I may bring him back in eventually at 22.7% as well, so he's down to a bit of a differential as well again. So and then the only other person to mention was obviously from the week before with the goals galore from defenders was Rudiger. At 6 million,
he's pricey.
Shame he's 6 million. He is really pricey. 0.6% owned, so big differential. But he had 6, 2, 1, and 16 in the last 4. But they'd only kept 2 clean sheets since week 9. So that 6 at their first one of the last 4 weeks is not exactly one that's happening very often. So, but he's had 5 shots as well, which is pretty big for a defender. XG of 0.86. XA of 0.62. Those are decent numbers for a defender. 25 points in the last 4 weeks. So, but after those next 2, as I said, possibly someone like James, so like 5-ish million might be worth looking at. I think he's nailed on now. I think he missed the last one because he was ill or something. But James I'm definitely looking at as well. So
I'd just be worried by those lack of clean sheets as like a base, but I get what you mean from an attacking point of view. He could be interesting.
It's Chelsea, and they've got good fixtures after the next 2, like I said. So they have the potential, don't they? More than sort of teams like, maybe not more than Wolves, but teams like Saints or whatever. Sort of like, so just something to bear in
definitely.
mind.
It was interesting what Lampard said about, implied. I think it was after the game at Newcastle. And he was sort of talking about how, they've had enough chances this season and not putting them away. I thought that seemed like a bit of an indirect at Tammy because he'd had hadn't had much luck in front of goal in that game and he'd missed a few chances. So, I mean, it's comforting to know Lampard really doesn't rate Batshuayi. I think Tammy's pretty locked in that position and Giroud's not even in his thinking. So, I don't think he's going to lose his place between now and the end of the season. And it's a shame because he could be doing so much more. But his ownership is regional. Remember when he was almost the most selected player in the game, up around 50% even.
I think if he connected or scored or returned from half of the big chances he gets, he'd probably be the highest scorer in the game. Like,
well, I mean, the early sort of start of the season when he had those 3 amazing games in a row, I think it was, when he got like 13, 14, 15 or whatever, something ridiculous. And everyone jumped on him. I mean, that shows that when he was actually taking his chances, he would get some big hauls, and he's still been getting having really good numbers. So, it's disappointing for those who own him that he's doesn't do it more regularly.
Assuming next year they don't buy a striker, which I guess they probably will. But how much is he going to be? Like 8.5 mil?
8.5. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he was 9.
You can't see. Would you buy him at that price? I don't know.
Maybe I didn't buy Jimenez at this price this season, 7.5, and I regret it. So I don't know. You'd know he was nailed
assuming
on.
if they bolster as well, there's talk of Ziyech from Ajax coming to them in the summer. So if they bolster elsewhere, then that could still be a decent price for him.
Yeah. On the United side of things, like we were saying again, I mean their fixtures are quite poor. So after this Chelsea away game, they got Watford at home, Everton away, and then Man City home and Tottenham away. So they're they're pretty rough. And like I say, with the sort of shyness in front of goal, the fact they haven't scored in 3, all the numbers for all their attacking players are really bad. So Martial's had 4 shots in the box and 1 big chance in the last 4. So I mean, to put that into context, that's the same as Snodgrass and worse than Trossard. And despite all that, he's United's best performer in that time. So his ownership has dropped a hell of a lot. So he's 11.5% owned now. His returns have really dried up too. 3 in the last 9, and 2 of those came in 1 game. He's also notably not returned since Rashford got injured. So yeah, maybe he does need someone up top or in and around him like a Gallo to sort of hold the ball up and just so he doesn't have to be. I mean, to me, he didn't look that comfortable playing the number 9 in that Wolves game. Like he had the ball, he had the ball into feet, and he is back to the defender the most time. I don't remember anyone playing a ball in behind for him to run onto. I think he looks.
He's just not part of his game, holding it up like that.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
I think he looks much better with the ball sort of at his feet, running at defenders from the edge of the box, and playing the number 9 for United, he's not going to get much chance to do that. So sooner or later.
I think the one plus and possible surprise factor they might have is McTominay back.
Yeah,
and McTominay and Fred. The deep line, then Bruno can play Cam, and then hopefully, that might help Martial. If Igalo comes in, then that could be good. And if Chelsea are expecting Bruno to be in, sort of the CDM sort of role, then they might have a surprise possibly. And on the counter, Martial against Chelsea, I think that could happen.
I mean, should we just have a quick word on Bruno, because you quite liked him prior to him arriving, and I thought he looked quite good in that Wolves game. He had a hell of a lot of shots.
He did, yeah.
Second half he dropped off, didn't he, a bit? But
he dropped off because he had to play CDM because Pereira was bloody awful. So, the time he was playing Cam, he looked good, and he looked decent as well for playing the deeper role, I suppose. But you don't want to see him there. You want to see him getting in the box and creating. But I think he's a good player, and I think he will be an asset in the future, just as long as he stays in that Cam role.
Yeah, definitely. Finally on United, so they're the 5th best expected goals conceded in the last 4, and they've actually had 3 clean sheets in the last 6. So their defensive numbers, which have been there sort of all season, are actually being backed up a little bit now. Like I was saying earlier, if you get those clean sheets, it's always good to look at the defenders who are good for baseline bonus and any attacking threat. Basically, none of the United defenders have any attacking threat. So baseline bonus is what I had to resort to, and Wan-Bissaka has been the best, which sort of harks back a little bit to last season. He picked up the 3 bonus against Wolves, and if you're interested in a United defender, not sure why you would be with those fixtures, but Wan-B, 5.3 million still, Keek, and 13.6 ownership. That's got to be a hangover from the first couple of game weeks of the season.
I think so. Yeah.
Remember when I had him?
Yeah, and you benched him for one of his only clean sheets that you.
Yep, it was pretty much awful. All right, well, I think that wraps up all our fixturinios, doesn't it?
Yeah,
little short preview. So captaincy, everyone sort of knows about, because I keep getting confused. Like we're doing a Gameweek 27 preview. We're not. We're talking 26 still. We're still in it. In fact,
it's crazy.
When we record
like a week later,
I was going to say when we record next week, still Gameweek 26 won't have finished because that West Ham Man City game is a week today, so it won't have even kicked off. Mad. All right. Captaincy. Yeah. So everyone still knows we're on Salah and Ings. You can see it on the screen. In fact, no, I'm not Ings vice captain. I'm De Bruyne.
Oh, you're hoping for that Liverpool game to be off then.
Exactly. Storm Derek. Hopefully, it just blows over though, because I want Salah to play. All right. So,
Storm Donald. It's looking good.
All right. Let's go over our Cougar Cub picks for this week, please. Now you can pick first because I sort of made us change.
Decided to change. Yep. No, I want to hear yours first.
Go, really?
Go.
Oh yeah. God. Okay. Well, it's someone I mentioned tonight as a bit of an outside pick. Do you reckon you can guess who it is?
Me.
No, it's
it's not going to be me. Is it?
Me.
No, I don't know.
It's Jordan Henderson. I'm backing him. Yeah, well, it's just those penalty area touches.
You've gone from Lascelles to Jordan Henderson.
Away.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, definitely sure about that. It's right, at least 3 points. So
true.
Anymore's huge.
Okay, so I'm going to go for my boy that I picked up last week. Got a great goal that you don't think it was a great goal. Steven Bergwijn against Villa
a basic
away.
Goal.
Oh god, it was a great goal. Anyway, Bergwijn 1% owned. Aston Villa away. Obviously, Villa have terrible defensive records, so
Yeah.
I think Spurs will definitely at least get one, and hopefully it's Bergwijn.
Yeah. All right. I was going to say, reason I actually like Lundstrom's goal from the weekend more than Bergwijn's goal because he hit the ball before it even touched the ground whilst having his touch to control it. I was like, whoa.
I actually haven't even seen Lundstrom's goal yet, but yeah,
it was really nice.
To go see it. Yeah.
I mean, it was quite basic. It wasn't very far out, but it was good. So we're maybe gonna do a live show Sunday evening. We're gonna put it up on YouTube just to let you guys know in advance. But we put out a little comment on the channel earlier this week just to say we were thinking about doing a second show. And we'd like to hear some of your ideas if you'd be interested. So yeah, we're gonna try a live show after the games on Sunday evening. It'd be great if you could join us. We're just gonna answer some questions and probably moan about our lack of points. It's not gonna,
no stats, just a pure reaction.
Just pure reaction, yeah. So it's going to be strictly half an hour of just pure Kieran and Chris goodiness. So yeah, if you want to jump in the YouTube channel, ask us any questions, we'll be there. We'll post up the time on YouTube, so follow us on there. Cool. All right. Was there any more we need to talk about, Kieran?
No, let's leave it.
Let's leave it just there. All right. We'll be back on Sunday evening for the live show, and then again next Wednesday to preview Gameweek 27. Gosh, blimey. All right. Nearly there. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you then.
Cheers.
Bye.